Hi and welcome to Best in Tesla and the news show Overflow episode 11. We continue to see Tesla's demand for the new refreshed Model Y is very strong, actually a bit too strong. And Ford seems to continue to have real inventory problems in the US. And with all the talk about OneWeb replacing Starlink in Ukraine, is OneWeb actually a true competitor to Starlink? And Xiaomi continues to rise as it plans to expand its Beijing EV factory. And a Tesla terrorist is facing 20 years in prison. And Nvidia shows off a new cool little robot. And SpaceX did return the stranded astronaut from the International Space Station. And Tesla received the first in a series of approvals from California for robotaxis. All of this and much more in today's episode. Let's dive right in.
Let's put our living stereo stylus in this groove.
We continue to see Tesla's demand for the new refreshed Model Y is very strong. Actually, it might be a little bit too strong. As Tesla Chen shared, where we can see Tesla's new Model Y leading weekly sales of pure electric SUVs in China from March the 10th to the 16th, with 9,451 units sold, significantly outpacing competitions like the Xpeng G9, the NIO ES8, indicating Tesla's market position in China's EV market is as strong as ever. The closest competitor in the EV SUV market sold almost 7 times less units. You can actually take the rest of this top 10 list, and then they only sold 5,370 units. So the top 10 competitors combined in the electric SUV market in China sold only 57% of Tesla's Model Y sales in China in that week. We are truly seeing some great demand for Tesla's new refreshed Model Y. So much so that Tesla has actually raised the price, as Tesla Chen also shared. Tesla China raised price of new Model Y all-wheel drive by 10,000 yen. And they offer a 3-year 0% interest rate on orders until the end of April for the rear-wheel drive version. So it seems like the demand for the all-wheel drive version might be a bit bigger than what Tesla can handle at the moment, and therefore raises the prices a bit. But you won't hear this from any mainstream media outlets. And Roland only reported that yesterday Tesla had the highest daily sales of the year in Norway, and that is basically all the Tesla Model Y. So we can clearly see that the refreshed Model Y's ramp is taking effect and sales are back to their usually high numbers. It will be interesting to see if Tesla can get back to all-time highs in the countries, but we can clearly see that Tesla sales are ramping up again. They will of course be down in Q1, but let's see how Q2 will look, as the ramp we have seen in the Shanghai factory seemed to have been extremely fast to get back to basically normal levels of 15 to 20,000 units a week in sales, so production should be keeping up with that at the moment, of course. So I think and hope we could already have a nice normalized quarter in Q2, but let's see how it all goes. Ford seems to continue to have real inventory problems in the US. We always hear how electric cars are still too expensive compared to ICE cars. Well, as Brandon from Car Question Answered shared on his latest videos about Ford's inventory problem, is that Ford's cheapest car they have on the market is $33,000, and that is a small Ford Escape. The cheapest F-150 they have is $50,000, and they go all the way up to $100,000 or more. But you can get a brand new Model Y with tax incentive for just $52,000, and that is the launch edition, as that is still the only one you can get in the US. But you can get some of the old Model Ys that Tesla still has in inventory, you know, the best-selling car for the last 2 years straight, for as low as $30,000. And you can get the refreshed Model 3 for as little as $35,000, including tax incentive. That is all prices that are below Ford's average selling price in the US for their vehicles. So Ford only has quite expensive cars, and they are piling up at their dealerships. And that is not just Brandon reporting on that. I have shown before that Ford has the most amount of inventory of any brand in the US with 2024 models, over 400,000 units. They need to get those 2024 models off the lot before they can start selling more 2025 models to the dealerships. And that is probably also why we saw Ford sales being down 9% in February. So they can't really get a lot of cars sold to dealers as they are already filled up with last year's models. And so far, we have not seen Ford come out with a huge discount as we have seen Stellantis do, trying to fight the huge inventory build-up last year. But it will probably not be long before we see Ford dealerships starting to make discounts to get rid of 2024 models so Ford can sell them some more new 2025 models. And Ford will of course have to help to pay those discounts to the customers. So Ford really seems to be in a bad situation in the US, but let's see how it looks in March and onwards, if this is just a little hiccup or if this trend continues, as this could spell trouble for Ford's 2025 sales numbers in the US. And there has been a lot of talk about OneWeb satellite internet could replace Starlink in a place like Ukraine. So is OneWeb really a true competitor to Starlink? Well, not even close. And just to clarify, Elon has been now saying that he will never shut down Starlink internet in the Ukraine. What he did say is without it, Ukraine would not be able to hold back the Russian invasion. So we have seen articles saying that maybe Ukraine should just use OneWeb instead. But it's not that simple, as a professor from Munich also explained, because Ukraine relies heavily on drones for its defense against the Russian invasion. However, for their operation, a stable internet with low latency is needed. Currently, the country relies on Starlink for this. According to media reports, the network would be difficult or perhaps even impossible to replace with another provider. Low orbit is crucial for drones and other military operations due to the high speed and latency. OneWeb, a France-owned company, currently has 628 satellites in low Earth orbit. By comparison, Starlink has almost 7,000. And just to add, OneWeb satellites are also twice as far out from Earth as Starlink is, making the latency worse. But Andres Knopp, professor of information processing at the Bundeswehr University in Munich, pointed out to German newspaper Handelsblatt that OneWeb not only has significantly fewer and higher satellites in Earth orbit, but those were also outdated. Therefore, Eutelsat can only provide limited assistance with time-critical satellite connection, which are urgently needed directly on the front line, Knopp said. And as you can see on this chart provided here, OneWeb only deployed 20 satellites last year, and so far this year they have deployed 0, while Tesla has already deployed 397 satellites so far this year. And as you can see, this chart goes back to 2019, where both launched a few satellites, but in all of those 6 years, OneWeb have deployed less satellites than what SpaceX does in 6 months. There is simply no way OneWeb can ever compete against a company that both builds and launches its own satellites. And this is all before SpaceX has the Starship ready, because SpaceX has indicated that Starship could carry significantly more satellites per launch. Early statements from SpaceX President Gwynne Shotwell suggest the Starship could handle 400 Starlink satellites, but that is likely based on the lighter version 1.5 satellite that weighed about 260 kilo. For the heavier version 2 mini satellites estimated to weigh about 730 to 800 kilos, estimates adjust downwards of course, but still far exceed the Falcon 9. But with the version 3 Starlink satellite expected to weigh around 1,900 kilo each, projections suggest Starship could carry over 100 satellites per launch, potentially up to 150 depending on the final design and stacking efficiency. Post on X and recent SpaceX updates also hint at a capacity exceeding 100 version 3 satellites, aligning with the rocket's massive payload bay and the 150 tons capacity. But it is not all about the numbers of satellites, because the version 3 satellites is not just a little incremental incremental improvement. Version 3 should be 20-fold more powerful than version 2. So we are still waiting for SpaceX to show off the new launch system of the satellites, but so far they have had trouble with their brand new version of the Starship. But SpaceX has announced that Starship will soon launch version 3 satellites, and each launch will add about 60 terabit per second of capacity, over 20 times more than a Falcon 9 launch today. So even though OneWeb can't even keep up with the units deployed today, like Knob said, their satellites are already outdated, and SpaceX is closing in on launching 100 to 150 satellites in one launch. That is basically OneWeb's annual average over the past 6 years. SpaceX will do that in one launch. And on top of that, the satellites will be more than 20 times more powerful, as OneWeb satellites are probably already worse than version 2 of the Starlink. As Knob said, they are outdated, so it would be more correct to compare SpaceX's one launch of the Starship with one deployment of 100, so the lower end of the estimated capacity of version 3 satellites, to OneWeb launching about 2,000 of their satellites. And with their current launch average, that would take them about 20 years. And that was one launch of the Starship with Starlink satellites. Please let that one sink in. If you really think anyone will be able to compete with SpaceX on satellite internet, no one is close today. As you can also see on this chart, there is Starlink and then everyone else. And SpaceX is only widening the gap and is only going to accelerate with their Starship and version 3 satellites. And let's squeeze in the last short news topics into this news show. Yes, it's time for the Tesla Shorts. Xiaomi continues to rise as it plans to expand its Beijing EV factory. And unlike many others that are downgrading their EV targets, Xiaomi is actually raising it. Xiaomi raised its 2025 vehicle delivery target to 350,000 units from 300,000 units previously. I don't think Ford, GM, Mercedes or Audi will be able to compete with those numbers. This is just insane growth from a company that is for the first time ever trying to make an EV or even a car. To compare to some of the other well-known EV startups in China like Xpeng and NIO that has been delivering cars since 2018, they have a target of 380,000 and 440,000 respectively. NIO target is very ambitious, I would say, as that would be a doubling of their sales in 2025 compared to 2024. But both did sell less than what Xiaomi is targeting for 2025 last year after 7 years of building cars. Should put into perspective what a meteoric rise Xiaomi is doing here. And they will supply their one model they're doing all of this with, the SU7, this year by June or July with the YU7, an electric SUV that will compete with Tesla's Model Y. So that will definitely be a newcomer to keep an eye on. And Tesla received its first in a series of approval from California required for the electric car maker to eventually launch the promised robotaxi service in the state, according to a state regulator. This permit, typically for chauffeured operation service, allows Tesla to own and control a fleet of prearranged employee trips, but doesn't yet authorize public autonomous ride-hailing, requiring additional permits from the California DMV and the CPUC, which Tesla has not yet applied for. But the first step has been taken in California to get cybercabs rolling on the streets in the not-so-distant future. And SpaceX did return the stranded astronaut from the ISS. And just to set the record straight on this one, as there has been a lot of noise about it, and Elon has also called another astronaut an idiot, and Elon could no doubt have handled that reply much better, but the astronaut did accuse Elon of lying, so Elon got a bit angry. But we even had the stranded astronaut at the space station saying that what Elon is saying was factually correct. So SpaceX did offer to rescue the astronaut last year, but because of political reasons, Biden's administration declined that offer. Now that is just insane. This is just a crazy example of politicians that are taking it too far. And organizers have removed Tesla from the Vancouver International Auto Show. Tesla wanted to stay. They just provided us with this statement explaining their decision. The Vancouver International Auto Show has removed Tesla as a participant in this week's event after the automaker was provided multiple opportunities to voluntarily withdraw. The Vancouver Auto Show primary concern is the safety of attendees, exhibitors and staff. This decision will ensure all attendees can be solely focused on enjoying the many positive elements of the event. But maybe Zach found the real reason why Tesla is not welcome. Vancouver Auto Show is owned and operated by the New Car Dealers Association. And Nvidia showed off their very new cool little robot that looks like a version of the Wall-E robot.
You're good. You're good. Just stand right here. Stand right here. Stand right here. All right, good. Right there. That's good. All right, stand.
An out-of-spec review took the new refreshed Model Y out for a spin, and he thought it was a very good car, and thought it deserved to become the best-selling car in the world once again. So nothing new, just that it is an all-around good car, and if you're looking for an electric SUV, this is the one Kyle from Out of Specs Review would recommend. And Facade also shared some more numbers about what we have been talking about last week, as he wrote, Tesla buy interest on Google Trends is the highest it has been in 5 years, far outpacing sell interest. The demonstrations and attacks are likely backfiring. Yes, indeed. And I know many are waiting for the unsupervised full self-driving coming in June and the 2 more affordable models coming this summer as well. But we cannot forget about the big boy, the semi-truck, because that factory is moving along nicely. And as we can see, thanks to all Sengler's video, the stamping section steel columns at the Tesla new semi-truck factory are now going vertical in section G. So it seems that Tesla is still on track to start production late 2025. So this is such an overlooked product. It will not be a big unit provider, but it will bring a nice revenue and will be a big part of the mission to get transport to be sustainable. Semi-trucks are only about 1% of the vehicles on the road, but they are actually responsible for 20% of the emission. So a very important vehicle, not just for Tesla, but for all of us. And Boston Dynamics continues to teach its robots a lot of useless stuff, but the way it is able to walk and run and control its body is very impressive. This has always been Boston Dynamics' strength, and the missing link is still the brain, but just a very good showcase that the humanoid robots are coming and they will be able to do everything we can. This is what they can do in 2025. Just try to imagine what they will be able to do in 2030. And if you think things are not speeding up when it comes to renewable energy, take a look at this chart. In 2004, it took the world a year to add 1 gigawatt of solar power. Now, it takes a day. And as Evan reminded us all about, Tesla's energy and storage segment is now a $10 billion annual business. But that is, of course, looking at it in the rear-view mirror, because Tesla already has the second factory up and running, so by the end of 2025, the capacity would be over 80 gigawatt hours. And is that a lot of batteries? Well, comparing to what Tesla sold of cars, well, that is about 130 gigawatt hours worth of batteries in the vehicles. And the margins on the energy segment are far greater than the auto segment, so this will also add nicely to Tesla's bottom line. And we, of course, already have got the third factory announcement, so in 2026 we are looking at maybe 120 gigawatt hours of capacity. So in 2026 we will have 3 factories fully ramped with an annual run rate that would be able to generate something like $30 billion in revenue if each factory will be a $10 billion revenue stream. And Tesla is probably not done announcing new megapack factories this year, so let's see how the outlook will look by the end of 2025. drive. But this is truly a rapidly growing part of Tesla's business many people seems to overlook. And people should think twice about making terrorist attack against Tesla or any other company or person for that matter, as we could see. Daniel Clark Pounder, 24 years old, faced a 20 years in federal prison after he allegedly firebombed a Tesla charging station in Charleston and spray-painted F. Trump, long live Ukraine. Yes, you can protest all you want, that is your right, but destroying private property, that is simply just terrorism. So unless you are willing to spend 20 years in prison, I would highly recommend you stick to protesting. That is all we have time for in this Overflow News Show. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button. It really does help this video out a lot so others can find it on YouTube. And if you did like it, maybe you want to consider hitting that subscribe button and notification bell so you don't miss out on future episodes just like this one. And if you're already a subscriber to the channel, thank you so much for the support. But if you want to support the channel even more, remember you can, for as little as $1, become a patron of this channel or become a member of the YouTube channel to get a shout out as some extra perks like early access, ad-free versions of my videos, exclusive videos. So hit the members button or check out Patreon to find out more. And don't forget to follow me on X. I post pretty much all the news as it comes out and a lot more. And check out the merch store to get some merchandise and support the show. It is also possible to support the show without becoming a member or a patron. There is a donation option down below or on my website bestintesla.com. You can also become an executive producer and get news articles, exclusive videos, behind the scenes, and access to all my research, charts and spreadsheet also on bestintesla.com, or as simple as hitting the super like button. And thank you for watching. And until next time, take care out there and be nice.